ladies and gentlemen. Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy, RV extraordinaire, coming today to talk to you about fifth wheel hitches. There's so many different fifth wheel hitches out there, and I'm going to hit on several that we offer here at Beckley's Camping Center, and ones that would fit your particular truck. Sometimes it can get a bit confusing, and I'm going to try to break that down for you. So let's get on to fifth wheel hitches. Now, for long beds, they make fifth wheel hitches where they're not going to need to slide. Now, of course, we carry the Reese, we carry the Pull-Right, we carry Blue Ox, and we carry the B&W. Now, there's many different ways that these can install in the beds of your trucks. In the event that you have the puck system, they have ones that'll drop in the pucks, whether you're a Ford, Chevy, or Dodge. Now, then they also have standard rails. Standard rails are going to go in your bed. Now, all of these type of hitches can come apart and be pulled out of the bed, so they're not in the bed if you need to use it. But this is your typical industry standard rails for fifth wheel hitches. Now, something to consider when you're looking at a fifth wheel hitch is how big of a camper you're going to be towing to make sure you get the proper fifth wheel hitch. The other thing you want to consider, maybe you're buying a smaller fifth wheel and your truck can handle a larger capacity. My recommendation at that point would possibly be to get yourself the largest fifth wheel hitch that your vehicle is capable of towing. And the reason for that is 2-3 years down the road, when you get tired of the camper that you have and you want to upgrade, now you don't have to spend that additional money to upgrade. You're talking only a few $100s in cost to go from, let's say, a 16K to like maybe a 20K fifth wheel hitch. That's well worth it, the investment upfront, versus it costing you thousands of dollars later on. Now, also they have what they call clean bed technology, and so what they're able to do is they're able to go ahead and put fifth wheel hitches in your bed, so the only thing you're going to have is 4 holes. Now, this is something that you would use if you didn't have the puck system in your truck. This may be an option for you. So those are a couple different ways that we install the fifth wheel hitches in your bed. Now, of course, the next thing is to figure out, okay, which fifth wheel hitch is best for your vehicle. And that's going to come down to what you're going to be towing, number one, because some of these fifth wheel hitch, the pin box on the fifth wheel hitch does not necessarily line up with all these different hitch receivers that are out here, these fifth wheel hitches. So that is something that we need to look at as well. Now, do you have a short bed? Because if you're short bed, you're going to need a slider hitch. However, if you have what we call the 5.5 foot bed in some of your trucks, then you're going to need a different type of a slider hitch, because the Reese slider, my Blue Ox slider, or even my B&W companion slider is not going to work in that short of a short bed. So let's talk about some differences with fifth wheel sliding hitches. Now let's talk to you about sliding hitches. So I think one of the ones that most people know about is the Reese sliding hitch. This one is a manual slider. Now you'll see this piece on here. The reason why this piece is on here is in the event that you didn't lock this properly on here, and this is available for the Reese hitches. You don't need it on other hitch receivers. This is what they call a bed saver. And maybe some of you, and I know I was talking to somebody recently that had a Reese hitch, and it was locked in. They drove over 700 miles and they got to a campground and the thing came out. This would have saved them a ton of problems. So make sure you look into something like this if you're going to go the Reese hitch. Well, what happens on the Reese hitch is, because it is manual, let me get it unlocked here, and it slides. What you're going to want to do is, when you are locked, this is your towing position. So it's over the axles. And what's going to happen is, when you get to the campground, you're going to want to go ahead and maneuver this backwards to allow you to be able to turn your vehicle. Now, this is for short beds. This would be for your 6.5 foot beds. If you have something that's shorter than that, my recommendation is going to be another fifth wheel hitch, and I'll go into that in a little bit. But what happens is, now that you're at the campground, you're checking in for your site. Before you drive to your site, what you're going to want to do, and typically it works best if you have 2 people to do this, have somebody get out and they're going to stand here, they're going to unlock the fifth wheel hitch. You're going to be in your vehicle, you're going to hold the brake controller to apply the brakes on your fifth wheel, and you're going to move forward. And what's going to happen is this will slide back. At that point, they lock it in the maneuvering position. Now you can go on down to your campsite and it will work fine. After you're done, you go ahead and after you park it, you can hold the brake controller and slide back under it and you'll be good to go. So now another fifth wheel hitch that is very popular, and by the way, this is the Paultheairforceguy automatic sliding hitch. A little bit more money than what you're looking at for the Reese, but it's an automatic slider, meaning you don't have to get out and adjust anything. This thing's going to move and slide back away from your truck cab, whether you're going forward or whether you're going backwards. So I don't know if any of you have been in that situation where maybe you're out towing a fifth wheel and you're cutting a corner too tight and maybe you've crunched your fifth wheel into your cab. This would alleviate that problem. So maybe, and you know, as we get older, maybe we want things a little bit easier to use. And all this does is they're going to put a capture plate on the pin box, so as it slides into here, it's going to be wedged. It's a wedge that goes in between here. And also you don't have to use any of those, any grease or any of that stuff on this at all. But that way there, anytime you're turning, what will happen is this thing automatically moves back away from your vehicle. And again, you of course go 90 degrees. Now where the Reese fifth wheel only adjusts about 12 inches, they have one made for the 5.5 foot bed that's going to give you much more length of travel, and you will be able to go 90 degrees where you would not be able to with the Reese. So make sure you be careful when selecting your fifth wheel hitch. Now, one of the knocks that Paultheairforceguy gets as far as from how you can disconnect or reconnect. And reconnect's really typically not the issue, but when you're disconnecting, where you could run into an issue is if you're more than 8 degrees off, it does not want to unlock. However, that's really not a problem if you know what to do. And the easy thing to do is to leave it latched onto your vehicle, and all you're going to do is you're going to pull it. It has a little pin right here. You pull this pin out, you pull that pin out, leave it connected, and then just raise your fifth wheel, and this is going to stay on the fifth wheel. Pull your truck out. You need another person to help you. Somebody, you can hold this, somebody unlatches it, it comes right off. When you're going to go back up onto your vehicle, you're going to be straight the next time anyway. So that's something that most people aren't aware of, that they can go ahead and detach that. You don't have to, it's not that difficult. I know people have had issues with that before, but that's a simple way of getting out of that dilemma when you're more than 8 degrees, even if you're 45 degrees, when you're having to disconnect from your fifth wheel. Now this is the Blue Ox version of a slider hitch. You could use this, if you wanted to use this just as a regular hitch, you could do that. Nice thing with the way that this, you can get this to mount 2 different ways in your bed. It also goes on to, if you have a ball inside of your vehicle. So if you have that put in there, it goes right over top of the ball, just like the B&Ws. But now what this one is, this is one of those manual style fifth wheel hitches. And nice thing is, you can see these pieces here. That's kind of like a shock absorber for your fifth wheel. And what you have is you have a little pin right here that you pull out, and then what you need to do is you just need to unlock it, which you're just pulling out on this, and it unlocks it. And then again, you could do this before you're hooking up, you could do it while you're hooked up. This thing will just shift back like this. You lock it back in place, put the pin back in, and of course if you're attached, this thing's going to rotate as you are moving it back anyway. This has more of a Teflon style top here. Very, very nice. Again, you're not going to need to grease or anything. You're not going to need any type of those plates that you put on your loop plates. You don't need that with this type of a fifth wheel hitch setup. But this is a slider type hitch. This is something that our guys use. We have a long bed truck for the one that our driver uses. He loves this hitch. So now B&W, they also make a sliding hitch that can go over top of your ball. They can go in the puck system. You can even put them, we even have adapters where you can put them in pretty much any vehicle. But that is another one that does have a sliding hitch, and you can be used in multiple ways. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight to fifth wheel hitches. And they get kind of complicated. For those of you that have questions on these, on your particular vehicles, feel free to reach out to me, and I can try to walk you through the information to make sure that you're getting the right fifth wheel hitch for your vehicle. Thanks for watching, and I'll be coming back at you again soon. Take care.